What is going on, everybody? So today we're going to do something a little special. It's been 6 months since I bought the Lenovo Legion Go. And in that time, there have been a lot of opinions and a lot of experiences with this handheld in comparison with other handhelds like the ROG Ally and Steam Deck. But regardless of all of that, it has been 6 months since I bought this amazing handheld. And I thought I would share my overall thoughts in this sort of extensive review. So sit back, relax, and enter the Lenovo Legion Go. So Lenovo has been one of the best technology companies for the past at least 15 years. And personally, I haven't had a huge reason to invest in any of their technology because even though their technology was advanced and good quality, I just didn't like the aesthetic of it. Call me shallow, which I probably am. But here we are with this amazing handheld that can pretty much do anything a Nintendo Switch and a Steam Deck can do, and much, much more. But my biggest question today is the Lenovo Legion Go actually worth picking up versus an ROG Ally X, which has an 80 watt-hour battery, and this has a 49 watt-hour battery, or the Steam Deck OLED, which has an OLED HDR screen, and of course, SteamOS, which is the biggest selling point of that handheld. Now, we're mainly going to focus on the Legion Go today, and the reasons why I think it's a fantastic handheld that most users would like, regardless of its heft and sometimes difficult to use UI, as you can see. I mean, the problems happen in real time. If I were to give any warning before starting this review, it would be don't use a Steam Deck charger with this thing, it'll brick it. And also, maybe never get a case for it because it is very heavy. But starting off, does it play games very well? Well, for the most part, it plays games almost as good as the ROG Ally. Even though this 1 terabyte model is more expensive, currently $150 more expensive than the ROG Ally, but not more expensive than the ROG Ally X. Now, overall, it is about 10 to 20% less powerful than something like the ROG Ally X, which is unfortunate. And you won't get a bigger battery than an ROG Ally X. And overall, I give the performance an 8.5 out of 10. I think it's consistent enough and impressive enough to get the average casual user to turn their head and consider buying one, just for the performance alone. Regardless of that drawback of it not being more powerful than the ROG Ally, regardless of its size, I find that using Steam is a lot more fluid on this handheld. And for the most part, Steam input pops up when I need it to, and games work just fine. But the most important thing is Legion Space. Now, Legion Space is still loading because I guess it's downloading some kind of new update, similar to how SteamOS downloads updates the first time you start it up. No matter what, even while you're updating, Legion Space always pops up for you when you need it the most. But is Legion Space easier to use in Armory Crate? In my opinion, not really. You have 2 custom performance profiles along with performance mode and power saving mode. You also have thermal modes, which is making this already a little too complicated to recommend this to the average user. But you can always use the touchscreen if it gets a little too complicated to use your gamepad. You can go all the way up to 1600p or a mid 1200p, which I love to use the most because it looks the best to me and the performance is the best. And of course you have your gamepad, and these settings on Legion Space after it's updating is very lucrative. You have tons of options with these gamepads, but the most important feature about this is the gaming aspect. And well, popping in and out of the game, as you can see, it's a little weird because of Windows 11. Okay, so it was the resolution that was preventing me from getting back into the game. So when you get all of those kinks worked out with Legion Space and Windows 11, and when you get used to all these settings and how they affect every single individual game, which is a very complicated process to get used to, in my opinion, you will inevitably start to appreciate this handheld a lot more. As you can see, I was still having issues while playing something as simple as Batman Arkham City. And after all the shader cache is compiled, games usually run pretty smoothly, but this is the game that's given me slight stuttering issues on Windows 11 and playing on the Legion Go even in performance mode. And the game is running at 800p at 67 FPS. But with some titles, you won't be able to switch the resolution on the go, even a game as simple, again, as Arkham City. But the main thing I love about the Legion Go is the fact that you can do this. You can actually use it in tabletop mode, or even dock the device and just use the controllers that came with the actual handheld. You don't have to connect any type of external controller like the PlayStation 5 controller or an Xbox Series S. All you need are the Legion Go Joy-Con, or detachable controllers as everybody calls them. And I think, personally, that's the best feature of the Legion Go. The fact that you can just detach the controllers on the fly and within seconds getting them to work in tabletop mode or even docked mode. And also the second feature of these controllers that I really like is the trackpad. The fact that you can actually minimize Steam and, let's say, explore the emulator folder, and I can actually use the trackpad to explore Windows 11 freely. And I find that to be an essential feature to any Windows 11 handheld. Let's give it some room to breathe, because apparently if you block the back of the system, it's going to get in the way of the vents and the system is most likely going to overheat. But it's not doing anything too taxing. But yes, gaming on the Legion Go can be a little finicky due to its portrait mode display resolution, because most games just aren't compatible in that way. Of course, if you have a Linux device, you might be able to get around that portrait display similar to how the Steam Deck does it, but there are still issues with every type of portrait display, and as you saw, it has its own issues. Switching the resolution isn't exactly compatible with every single game you're going to come by, but the only complaint I would have for this system aesthetically would be the fact that the power button is right at the edge. But as you can see, while I'm detaching and reattaching the controller, since I can't find where the edge is, I have to align it with the top. And while aligning it with the top, sometimes I press the power button by mistake. That's the only annoying part of having the power button so close to the edge. But as for emulation, it's a Windows 11 device with one of the most powerful portable AMD CPUs inside. Of course, it can play Xbox 360 games, PlayStation 3, and anything below that. But the main looming feature that everybody talks about is the 1600p display screen. And as you can see, it's displaying Ninja Gaiden 2 with this humongous, almost bezel-less 8.8-inch display that is more than HD. It's actually QHD, which means Quad HD. It's a 2K display. 1600p is technically 2K, which makes everything, when it's upscaled, look so much better than 1080p. I mean, you can even see the tiny little textures in that wall, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't supposed to look like that originally. Well, of course, Ninja Gaiden 2 does hold up very well, and as you can see, it emulates games very well. But if you also look, you can see that the VSync is splitting the game right down the middle. Oh boy, I'm playing in very hard mode. Not good. But it is a portrait mode display, and Windows 11 actually doesn't take advantage of most portrait mode displays. So you're going to run into a lot of those issues like I showed you with Evil Within, and just simply switching the resolution tends to mess with the aspect ratio of each game. So it's a give and take and kind of a catch-22 with this screen. It is big and beautiful, but it does have an equal amount of issues that I've run into with God of War Ragnarok and even Marvel's Spider-Man 2. And besides not being compatible with specific power banks like the Move Speed and other power banks that I've used, I find that to be a slight negative. There are other features to the Legion Go that I really love, namely the FPS mode feature. At first, I didn't really like the FPS mode that much, but with Doom Eternal, FPS mode is king. Well, I can't find the stand right now, but the cool thing about FPS mode, let's just use this random thing for now. The cool thing that I find about FPS mode is the fact that you can actually use the controller attached to the system as well as using the right joystick. And I find that to be so rewarding and just an amazing experience most of the time. But as you can see, I don't have that attachment right now, even though I have two of them. But it's just so awesome to do this every once in a while. I just absolutely love it. I died. Great. But FPS mode is an amazing gimmick, and I think it's one of the most useful gimmicks. The cool thing, this switch makes it impossible for you to not use FPS mode even while attaching the controllers. It would be nice if it was an automatic feature in some way, shape, or form, but of course it's not. But there are so many other options out there that are actually cheaper, like the original ROG Ally, that you start to question exactly what is the point and why does the Legion Go exist, similar to the Legion Go S. And well, honestly, I can't give you the answer. If you want to buy one, it's an incredible handheld that will give you consistent performance with Legion Space always being at your side no matter what, even if it's updating itself. As you saw, Legion Space is one of the most reliable companion software applications that you get with a handheld for Windows 11 handhelds in the current market, in my opinion. I think the MSI Claw still has some drawbacks in terms of software, and ROG Ally with its Armory Crate definitely has a lot of drawbacks, but I think Legion Space is the main selling point for me here, and it's the reason why I'm going to keep going back to this handheld, because it's very easy to use Legion Space, and you can simply just detach the controller and use Legion Space on the fly in tabletop mode or docked. It feels like a Nintendo Switch, but it's mixed with the Windows 11 OS. And it would definitely be awesome to use something like this with SteamOS, but honestly, this trackpad isn't anywhere near as sensitive and accurate as the Steam Deck's trackpads. So even the trackpad is lacking comparing it to a Steam Deck OLED or even an original Steam Deck. So overall, I have to give the Lenovo Legion Go a 7.5 out of 10. I think this is a great system, and it's something that's going to turn a lot of heads if you bring it to a party or a friend's house, because it has so many features and gimmicks that you can't help but appreciate everything it offers, but it doesn't exactly have the performance of an ROG Ally X, and it's not anywhere near as reliable as something like a Steam Deck. It's kind of the in-between awkward child. It's the middle child of handhelds, but it's also one of the best options you have with a Windows 11 handheld because of the trackpad and its detachable controllers, because we all know how annoying it is to try to connect an external controller when you have it docked. On the ROG Ally, you have to deactivate that controller, and on the Steam Deck, you have to switch from player 1 to player 2, vice versa, and sometimes SteamOS has that exclamation point on each controller, which makes it impossible, so you have to install a plugin in order to disable Steam input. It's a lot of bullshit, guys, but this is not. This is mechanical, and it's embedded inside of this system, so you're not going to go anywhere wrong by just attaching and detaching the controllers, making it just that easy to get an external controller. And if you need to buy an accessory, there are accessory grips sold for these detachable controllers on Amazon. And I believe even JSOX made one that's magnetic, which is pretty awesome. And let's not forget about the speakers of the Legion Go, which I actually almost forgot about, because the speakers on the Legion Go are the exact antithesis of its screen. It's actually the worst feature on the Legion Go. I mean, you gotta hear this. It's probably the most forgettable feature on the Legion Go because of its quality, and I keep forgetting how bad it is until I hear it again. And just for reference, I'm going to compare the speakers, like everyone else has done, between the Legion Go and the ROG Ally, which has the best speakers in my opinion. Notice how with the ROG Ally, you can hear the bass in every footstep and that sharp shocking noise with each gunfire. I mean, the sound quality between the two is day and night between the ROG Ally and the Legion Go. The Legion Go sounds like you're listening to it through a Game Boy Advance, while the ROG Ally sounds similar to a 4K television. It has depth, bass, and clarity, while the Legion Go doesn't have either of those. So yeah, the Legion Go speakers get a 6 out of 10, because while it does sound terrible, it doesn't sound completely horrible in my opinion. It's still serviceable to somebody who hasn't heard the ROG Ally or the Steam Deck speakers. But I normally don't use these speakers in a serious manner when trying to play a game and trying to listen to a very important part of the game. I usually use my Bose headphones or anything else. But yeah, this is pretty much the Windows 11 Nintendo Switch in my opinion, and it's a solid handheld. Of course, I don't use it as much because the portrait mode display makes it a bit harder, and also the performance is lacking in some ways, but the screen is gorgeous. I can't get over that. And the detachable controllers makes it a lot easier to dock, even though the portrait mode display makes it difficult for the resolution to be compatible with games when it's docked, translating from the handheld to the docked mode. So there are complications there, but overall, this is a solid handheld. And 6 months later, I don't really regret it, but there is a part of me that wants to put SteamOS or Bazzite on this. But this will most likely be my experimental handheld and the awkward middle child. But yeah, if there's any way to appreciate this as just an average consumer, I would say think of it as an overpowered Nintendo Switch. Just compare it to the Nintendo Switch and how it can detach those controllers. And in terms of performance, this blows away the Nintendo Switch out of the water and into a different planet. But of course, when you're comparing it with something like an ROG Ally, there's definitely no competing with its performance. And with the Steam Deck, of course, there are no bounds to its convenience. And of course, something like a Nintendo Switch Lite or the original Nintendo Switch The Legion Go is of course more powerful, but it weighs about 10 times more than a Nintendo Switch Lite. But it's not too far away from a regular Nintendo Switch. Yeah, guys, let me know what you think about the Lenovo Legion Go. I'm going to continue trying new things with this handheld, but I do appreciate it wholeheartedly. I love, and 7.5 out of 10 isn't that bad. I mean, realistically, it is a 7.5, but I don't think of that as being a tough sell. Even though they do sell this for about $700, I think this would be quite the bargain if it were at least $500. So if it is on sale, just jump at the opportunity of getting a Lenovo Legion Go. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a good one. Later.